Well, good morning, YouTube. So today I'm in a 2024 Silverado High Country 2500 with the Duramax engine. I'm also towing a twin axle tilt back flatbed trailer. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm on my way to Ohio to pick up a Ford Transit van. So I have about right around a 2-hour drive. Shouldn't be anything too crazy, mostly highway besides some 2-lane roads in the countryside of Ohio. I figured this would be a great time to do another towing test with another vehicle. So this 2024 has 4,100 miles on it. Its lifetime fuel economy average was 13 miles per gallon. And so I figured, well, let's see if we can beat that number with a trailer and with a car on it. So basically I am headed to I-75 and we'll just be cruising south till I get to the Michigan-Ohio border. So stick with me and let's see what this thing can do. Jumping into the specifications of this thing, it produces 470 horsepower from its 6.6 liter Duramax V8 and a pretty impressive 975 foot-pounds of torque. It weighs 8,200 pounds, and that is propelled with a 10-speed automatic Allison transmission. I think this is kind of impressive, especially the 10-speed. The shift points are fantastic, and it seems like it's always in the power band, so very impressed with that. However, this truck is almost $90,000, and I think a lot of the American auto manufacturers are out of their minds with what they're asking for new vehicles these days. And here we are jumping onto I-75 for the duration of this trip. So I'm going to try to keep the revs for the most part under 2,000 to really try to see what sort of mileage numbers you can get out of this thing. I was reading some of the other reviews and people weren't too happy about the fuel economy. Anyways, big shout out to my friend that let me borrow his truck and trailer. Overall, the 2500 has a pretty smooth ride. There is some weird frame wobble, which you'll notice. One of my favorite features about this is the heads-up display, which is pretty cool. So I don't know if you guys can see there, it actually shows your closing distance based on how far away the car is in front of you. Kind of scary after, thinking about previous driving habits and how you'd be, a little bit closer and you wouldn't think about, how quick your reaction time would need to be. For instance, if they came to a quick stop. So this model does not have the Super Cruise, or at least it wouldn't let me turn it on with the trailer. The adaptive cruise also said it was disabled with the trailer attached, which again, I don't blame it. And for the most part, with the cruise set, it just held. It would not downshift and would just kind of lug along doing its thing. So there's a surprising amount of traffic headed to the Michigan-Ohio border. It seems like there's always construction in the I-75 696 area. So as you look to the bottom of the screen, you can see I've done almost 10 miles so far. Just about to break that 15 miles per gallon mark. It's an average speed of 34.7. So we're just going to kind of cruise. This guy was kind of a ding-dong and just decided to send it. But hey, you do you, bro. Getting up to cruising speed once the roads kind of opened up. Definitely cruises with ease. Surprisingly, it's a big difference what torque will do to a vehicle and its drivability. So I'm going to keep the cruise between 72 and 75. For the most part, I think I'm going to try to aim for 73, but sometimes you just got to move it along. Trailer brake harness has a little bit of a fault, so on occasion it'll say connected, disconnected, but that's here nor there. So here we go, pushing that 17 mile per gallon mark. We're almost 30 miles in and got 67 miles to go in an hour and 4 minutes. So all we're doing is just cruising on I-75 for now. The infotainment system on this thing's pretty cool. I'll get more into that a little bit later in the video. But the responsiveness felt good, and the EQ for the speakers was to my liking. I don't know if you can see in the video, but these Michigan roads are pretty nuts, and all you're doing is just bouncing up and down, and you can feel these vibrations throughout the car. And just like that, the pavement gets a little bit greener once we cross into Ohio. So compared to Michigan, Ohio does have a slower speed limit, so it's time we slow the speed down and avoid any cops if possible. Ohio seems to be pretty relentless when pulling people over, and I've had previous experiences in the past, and it's just not a good time. Michigan gives you a little more grace period if you are kind of riding with a lead foot, but Ohio definitely doesn't do that. So we're almost 70 miles in so far. Not too much longer to go, thankfully. So I'm on I-75 for a short journey more before getting off on the 2-lane country roads. Towing with this thing has been really easy. Obviously, with an empty trailer that's maybe 1,500 pounds, maybe 2,000. You don't even really notice it's there. You just obviously have to watch your mirrors for cornering. I would suspect it wouldn't take too big of a hit on the mileage, maybe 4 miles per gallon, but we'll have to test that at a later date. And now we're on the 2-laners for the remaining bit of the journey, 55, but again, we're going to cruise just a little bit north of that. So it's been a beautiful drive so far. I got 7 minutes to go, 5 miles, and we're just chilling. So after looking at the van, it definitely needed a lot more than I was willing to do. It's been smacked a little bit harder, so the valuable part of it would have been the transmission. But unfortunately, something hit the transmission case and cracked off part of that, so that would have been part of the piece that would have funded the swap. So unfortunately, it's always better to walk away from a project than to be in over your head. So I'm gonna jump back in the truck and head back north. So kind of defeated, I thought the day was over, and so I started heading back home. I started scrolling Facebook Marketplace to see if there's anything else that would pique my interest, as I already had a truck and trailer with no cargo in the back. And sure enough, I found a 2012 Ford Focus with the 5-speed manual transmission with a bad motor. It was located a little bit north, and so I decided, well, when in Rome, right? So I headed out that way, and, well, let's see what happens with that. We don't see that every day, but that's pretty sweet. So I'm pulling off really quick. We grab some quick lunch at this place. It's decent. After a quick lunch, watching some fighter jets take off, we are back in Michigan. So now we have a little bit of a drive to go to pick up this car. So far on the truck, I've done 115 with an average of 17.4 miles per gallon and an average speed of 58. So the truck's still doing pretty well. This is a mostly flat route, so I expect this to kind of hold where it is. And let's see what happens after I pick up the Focus. Do these numbers stay constant, or does it drop dramatically? After cruising on I-75 for a little while, the numbers held about constant, and it's time to load the Focus. Body was in a little bit rougher condition than I was expecting. It's got a little more surface rust going on, but all in all, for $900, I'm pretty happy. Loading up with the tilt back, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but it is super easy, especially this one had a winch. So, all you do is basically point, attach, and connect. So I have a little bit of a drive ahead of me to get back home and then return the truck. So as you can see, we've done 263 miles so far with 16.6 is our average. So it is dropping down a little bit with the Focus on the back. but that's kind of expected as the weight and aerodynamics of the trailer did change. So I'm keeping that speed pretty constant, 73 with the cruise on, and we're just headed home. So I've arrived, more or less. Got about a mile or so to go from home, and then I have to unload the Focus. So when I picked up the truck, it had about 3/4 of a tank, and now we got the low fuel light on. It went from 40 miles till empty to 0 really quick. Hopefully I can make it to a gas station without bottoming this thing out. Overall, the mileage calculation that the computer gave me was off more than I expected, especially since the lifetime average of the truck was at 13. And thankfully, I did in fact make it to a gas station. But look at those diesel prices here in Michigan in August. That is insane. But hey, remember everybody, November's coming up. You get what you vote for. You idiots voted for this. What's kind of crazy is no matter what you do, it seems like you can't get away from Google. So here's Google Maps. This gas pump runs Android. Kind of crazy. So just like that, I'll show you guys in here. This whole touchscreen media system also runs Android, which I'm not a fan of. Google itself as a company is very spooky. It was at this moment the car and phone connected again, and so I lost audio. So here we are for the voiceover again. So it's kind of crazy is this thing actually runs Android 10, which if I remember correctly is fairly outdated, but the engineers at GM probably have some reason for that. Maybe it's more trustworthy, or they've tested it enough and they feel like it's up to the automotive standards. Anyways, it'd be kind of cool to dump some of the apps off of this thing onto a flash drive and run them on a computer just to see like how does it all come together. But the craziest part is I tried to show this in the video, and unfortunately the footage did not come across how I wanted it to, because the microphone, when my phone connects to the car and you're recording a video, well, unfortunately you don't get any audio. So basically, the phone has the OK Google system, and it's always listening to you. Always. There's no way you can turn that off. So if you're just sitting there and you just say the hot word, which I'm not going to say because I don't want to set 1,000 devices off, it'll say, oh, sorry, you need a data plan for this to work. But on the back end, it's already getting software updates over the cloud, over the air, and it's already, doing some spooky stuff with user data. Cars are some of the worst for personal privacy protection. And I mean, what are we supposed to do, nowadays? It's like whatever you do, you just get more and more surveilled. And I don't know, having that in a car and that being like a fundamental key item in that vehicle, like an infotainment system, it sucks driving without music, or a podcast or something like that, especially for longer trips. And to have that system baked into it with no choice to opt out is something I'm very much against. Hopefully there'll be some changes in the future. I would like to see a more expansive privacy policy that would talk about, exactly, hey, what is it doing? Because a lot of it, it's still like the things on airplanes, black boxes. Anyways, diving into it, we got 304 miles on the car so far. It's definitely a very nice vehicle. Is it worth almost $100,000? I definitely don't think so. Especially since, a lot of older trucks, you could buy an old diesel Silverado, for like 32 grand in like the mid 2000s. So I don't know, is all this extra bells and whistles and fluff worth it? I'd say probably no, especially because that's just more problems. With more computers comes more problems, comes CAN bus and other ODB2 communication issues, and it's just personally, I just want an old truck with a manual transmission. Less to go wrong. None of this computer's like, let me put my own aftermarket radio in there. I don't want any of this OnStar garbage. I just want a vehicle. But for this thing, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10, despite my quarrels with the Google system. So I'm about to turn the truck in. We got 329 on the clock, 16.4 mile per gallon average, and a 56 mile an hour average speed. So besides some of these other features and things that I think are unnecessary, I do really enjoy this truck for what it is. Rides nice. The screen's very responsive. The CarPlay works fantastically. And yeah, I mean, very thankful that I was able to borrow this and one way or another accomplish a mission. So the transit van didn't work out, but the Focus did. So I guess I still got something to wrench on, and all was well. So if there are any other vehicles that you guys would want me to take a look at or try to do a towing test or road trip review on, just leave a message in the comments below. I can also be reached at my email, which is in my channel description. And as always, I hope you guys have a good day and are safe on the roads out there. Catch you later.